Hello guys, and this is Scott here, and today we're going to be doing another historic video. We're going to be having a look at the summer of 2006 in this video, a well-known summer of recent years as it's one of the warmest on record for most of the UK, and in fact most of Europe as well. It was really the last good summer before the run of poor summers between 2007 and 2012. So we're going to have a look at that today. And just to say, a lot of the facts and figures you hear in this video come from Trevor Harley's personal weather website, which is a brilliant resource if he has records going back, detailed records going back to the start of the 1900s, and also other smaller records going back to like the birth of Christ. So, it's a fantastic resource and I really recommend that you check it out. And I'll leave a link to that in the description. So let's get on with it. So we're starting on the 1st of June, the start of the meteorological summer, and June 2006 comes out with a CET, Central England temperature, of 15.9 Celsius. So it's a warm June. It's not a record-breaking June, but it's certainly a warm one. And it's also a very sunny month, and you'll see why. So we start the 1st of June and we have high pressure moving in from the southwest. So it's gradually turning more and more settled as we go through the 2nd and the 3rd. And actually, an interesting fact I should point out is, I haven't got the charts for this, but at the end of May, there was a northerly blast. So it actually was quite cool at the end of May. But then the high pressure moves in through early June and we see those temperatures rise. So as we go through the 4th and the 5th and into the 6th, you can see it establishes itself on top of us. So we go from having temperatures in the space of a week from, maybe 10, 11, 12 Celsius to maybe into the mid-20s. So it's quite a pleasant start to the summer. And as I said, it's also very sunny. And we keep that pattern through the 7th, the 8th and the 9th. Before as we get to about the 10th, we try to bring in low pressure from the Atlantic, but in fact it actually brings a southerly to southeasterly wind with it, so it actually turns even warmer for a time, as though the air's driven off the continent and the Mediterranean. So it's a very warm start to summer, but then as we move into the 11th and the 12th, the low pressure moves in and it brings some rain across the country, and also it brings some quite heavy thunderstorms because we've got some cool Atlantic air moving into the warm air. But as we move into the 13th and into the 14th, the low moves away and the high pressure builds back in again. Because as I said, June 2006 was a very pleasant month. And that stays in going into the 15th and the 16th, and even into the 17th we keep it. Before on the 18th we see another small low move in, and so again it turns briefly more unsettled. But again, it doesn't last for long, because even as we go through the 20th and the 21st, yes, we get another low, but it moves away again. And really, once we get to the 23rd, 24th of June, this is where we start to see the main pattern that's going to develop itself for July. And obviously July was the month when, that's what really makes this summer famous. So on the 24th we've got high pressure ridging through the country, and it's ridging up to Scandinavia. And actually this is quite an interesting pattern, because many of our best summers, actually you have the Azores high linking up with a Scandinavian high, and actually what it does is it really blocks the Atlantic. It puts us under a very unbreakable ridge of high pressure, and it takes quite a lot to break that down. And that's the pattern we see developing, because as we go through into the 26th and the 27th of June, we start to see that the high pressure doing just that, and that gets us ready for July, as I said. So we end June with high pressure over Scandinavia, ridging through the UK and into the Azores, and we have a low in the Atlantic getting ready to move in, but it doesn't because of the pattern. And then we move into July, again as I said, which is the month that really made this summer famous. It has a CET of 19.7 Celsius, which not only makes it the hottest July on record, but also the hottest month ever recorded for the CET, which when you consider the CET goes all the way back to the mid 1600s, is really very, very remarkable. And it's obviously not a month we're likely to see anytime soon. So we start July with that pattern. So we have high pressure over Scandinavia, ridging into the UK, dragging in a warm southeasterly wind off the continent. And as we move into the second, it properly links up with the ridge in the Azores, and that locks the UK under high pressure. So as we go the third, fourth, into the fifth, we stay well under high pressure, and temperatures by this point are into the mid-30s, low to mid-30s, throughout most of the country, throughout most of England, Wales, and even in Scotland it's in the high 20s. So it's a very warm spell of weather for pretty much everywhere. As we move into the 7th, we bring a bit of a trough through, so we get some thundery showers, but even when we get these troughs off the Atlantic, like we see here on the 8th and into the 9th, they don't bring any cool weather with them. It actually stays very warm and actually quite muggy. And obviously because of the high temperatures, they bring quite a lot of thunderstorms with them. July 2006 was notable for a lot of the thunderstorms it brought, as well as the heat and the sunshine. But those clear away as we go into the 10th, and we build the high pressure back again. And this is where the real heat builds now. As we move into the 14th, 13th, into the 14th, we establish high pressure right on top of the country. So that's really, so there's no inflow to this high now. The air is stuck under the high, it's stagnating, and it's really rising. I mean, look at some of those upper air temperatures, it's going into the deep reds now. And as we move into the 17th and the 18th, we really record some high temperatures. On the 18th there was a disputed high of 42 Celsius in parts of Surrey. Now it's disputed because it wasn't officially recorded, so it's not an official record. But the official July record actually comes on the 19th, where in Wisley, Surrey, we record 36.5 degrees, which is the record high for July, as I said. And really that's where the temperatures stay. As we go into the 20th, the 21st, into the 22nd, we leave a very slack high over the top of us. So it stays very warm, the skies are clear, and you know, the heat of this month is really quite unbelievable. You know, even then the 23rd, 24th, the high just moves back in. And then as we get to like the 25th through to 26th and 27th, this is where we start to see the breakdown occurring. So we have quite a deep low developing in the Atlantic on the 27th. And what this is doing is it's putting strain on that high pressure now, as it gradually tries to edge in through the 28th. And then on the 29th, it starts to get a bit of a foothold on us. So it brings some more unsettled weather, and again quite a lot of thunderstorms on this day, before on the 30th it moves in and ends the heat wave, and then the 31st it's pretty much on top of us. And that's really what sets us up for August, because one of the most remarkable things about this summer was the huge switch around from June and July into August. August has a CET of 16.1, which is around average, and it was around average for rainfall as well, but it was also duller than average. But if you consider going from an extremely sunny July that's the hottest month ever recorded, to an average August that's duller than average, it was really quite a contrast. So we start on the 1st and we have that low pressure system right on top of us, so it brings heavy rain across the country before it clears away on the 2nd. Then as we get into the 3rd, there were signs that the high pressure was going to come back and it was just a temporary breakdown. And it does for a time, so as we go through the 4th and the 5th, it warms up again, so it's sort of back into the mid-20s. It's not low 30s like it was in July, but nonetheless it's mid-20s, so it's still quite pleasant. And it stays through into the 6th before on the 7th it starts to slip away slightly west. And what this does is it starts to bring a cooler northwesterly wind in. And what this does is this brings quite a lot of clouding, which is the reason why August 2006 was quite dull. And really that stays throughout the 8th and the 9th before on the 10th we bring another low pressure system through. So the 10th of August 2006 was quite a wet day. Then on the 11th the high pressure stays to the west and we get the low pressure in the east, and actually it pushes the winds into the north, so it actually goes really quite cool. Look at that, the 12th, 13th, we're in quite a northerly there, and even into the 14th, before on the 15th we bring another low through. So you can see how it's quite a contrast. I mean, look at that on the 16th, into the 17th. And then the lows stay quite slack over the country, they sort of just sit there. So as you can see on the 18th it's just sat there, and then on to the 19th. So that's another reason why this month was quite cloudy, because the lows that came over us never really moved, they were sort of just sat there. Look at that on the 20th, we really set up quite a miserable pattern there into the 21st. Then the high pressure tries to ridge in on the 22nd, but it doesn't before another low moves in on the 23rd, bringing wet weather back across the country on the 23rd and into the 24th. 25th again we bring another low into the 26th and into the 27th. Again the 28th, look at that, quite a deep late summer storm there. Into the 29th and the 30th. Then we try to ridge high pressure back in as we move into the 30th and the 31st of August, but it's not about to last. In fact, actually August 2006 was the first August since 1993 that 30 Celsius was never recorded, so it was really quite a cool month. But the most remarkable thing, I believe, that came out of summer 2006 was the September that followed it. So as we move into September, we bring that low in, and September actually has a CET of 16.8 Celsius, which actually makes it one of the rare instances where September is actually warmer than the August that it follows. And the reason was because it was quite a settled month, and in fact we build the high pressure back as we move through the month. So as we start on the 1st of September we have that low from the end of August and it moving in, and that's what happens on the 2nd into the 3rd. But notice on the 3rd we have quite a lot of high pressure building through Europe, so that's signs that it's about to come back, and that's exactly what it does. And on the 4th and into the 5th the high pressure really builds up and it drags the wind into the south and the southwest, and so temperatures are back up into the mid-20s now, and they move into the high 20s as on the 7th and into the 8th we build that high right on top of us, and it stays there through the 9th and into the 10th. Look at that, it puts us into a straight southerly, so it goes very warm for early autumn. Then on the 11th we bring this slack low in, and what this does, this brings some violent thunderstorms to the south and the Midlands. You know, some very torrential downpours, some places seeing a month's worth of rain in just a couple of minutes. Really quite a lot of lightning and heavy rain in this. And they continue into the 12th before we bring quite a deep autumnal storm in on the 13th. But if you notice, it drags the winds into the south, so it's never cold. That was one thing with September 2006, is even when we had the unsettled weather, it was never cold. and even on the 14th that low clears away, and then the 15th we start to bring the high back in again, and then look at that, we're back into south-southwesterly winds. And even on the 17th and into the 18th, before on the 19th we bring another low in, and this is where the month changed a bit. It stayed very warm, but it went really quite unsettled after this point. As you can see, look at that, the 20th, we've got a 970 millibar storm there, which isn't unusual for the time of year, because don't forget, we're moving further and further into autumn now. So it's not unusual to see storms like that. And that moves in onto the 21st, before again dragging the winds into the south. So it stays in the low to mid 20s. And even again on the 22nd, really quite a nasty day there. But again, 23rd, it sits just out to the west of us and drags those winds into the south and the southeast. So it's in the high 20s now, which, bear in mind, it's late September now. And that stays the way. And we temporarily build the high back in on the 25th and the 26th, before on the 27th and the 28th we bring another deep autumnal storm back in. And that's really how we finish off September. On the 29th we have another deep storm building out in the Atlantic, and that gets ready to move in on the 30th. But really, again, the winds stay in the south and the southwest, which, don't forget, it's been so warm over the summer. The seas are very warm, so southwesterly winds bring even milder weather than they normally bring. And in fact, autumn 2006 was the warmest autumn on record, partly because of the September, but also because October and November were also very mild. And then again, the winter of 2006 to 7 was also extremely mild. So really the second half of 2006 is really a very exceptional spell of weather. You know, we have the hottest month ever recorded, and then the hottest September ever recorded. So it really is an exceptional spell. And it's just because the winds are always from the south. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video actually. I hope you enjoyed the video. In the next historic video I have been asked to have a look at the December of 2010, which was an exceptionally cold December. So I'm going to have a look at that. Of course, leave your suggestions in the comments. If you have any suggestions, you know, for historic videos you want me to talk about, I'll read through them and happy to consider them. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.